Going to try to figure out a good exit strategy for Bitcoin. So when do you want to exit the crypto market? When do you want to sell Bitcoin? And when you do exit the crypto market by selling Bitcoin, what are you supposed to do with altcoins? Will altcoins dump with Bitcoin at the top, or will Bitcoin dump and altcoins continue? One of my exit plans here will be when the MVRVC score begins to hit this red area right here, it's going to signal a possible top in the Bitcoin market, and that is when I will start to look for a possible exit, right? And I will combine that with the NUPL chart. When price goes above this level right here and into the blue area, it means we're in euphoria and greed. And you can kind of see how well timed the top has been right here. There is, and this is the problem I'm having with this. We did actually have a top here, when we had that major accumulation zone right there for Bitcoin. We can go back to the Bitcoin chart. It's this move that I'm thinking about, right? That top right there. We did enter. I mean, we didn't really enter a. If you look at Bitcoin on the high time frames, look using the log scale, we've never really been in a bear market, right? It's just you zoom out here, you will quickly see that Bitcoin has never really. It's just a bullish chart all over the place on the high time frames, right? But if you kind of look at a more local area, we could say that this is somewhat of a bear market in an overall uptrend, right? So that is a top, right? I mean, we did drop, 50% right here. Now, 50% is not a major drop in Bitcoin, because it's actually stuff like that happens. This drop right here, 50%, right? So the drop that we just had was 50%. Now, if you compare those two drops with the one in 2017, where we actually had the NUPL hit the euphoria stage, we actually dropped 84%. Now, that is a bear market. Now that is a proper top, right? So yeah, we look at that top right there, and even though that was a major top, I'm not going to include this drop in that calculation, because that was the COVID, that was the black swan event, the COVID crash, basically. If I do use that low, it would be a 70% drop, but I don't think it makes sense to use that drop. So I'm going to use those lows right there, which gives us a 50% drop, which we also got up here. So whenever we do have a test of the euphoria level right here, we have a massive drop. So it happened in the end of 2013 and then in 2017, and both of these drops right here were fairly massive drops and massive bear markets, right? This top right here only gave us a 50% drop if you exclude the COVID crash, and that was the same drop that we actually got up here. So we topped here, 50% move down here, and then we had a top up here and a 50% move down to accumulation range. So I do feel like we can still get major moves to the downside, and we're talking about 50 to 60% move to the downside without really seeing a major top being put on Bitcoin. What I'm thinking is, when I'm talking about a major top for Bitcoin, we're talking about a multi-year bear market, right? So if we assume that, you know, I'm looking at the, let's see here. I'm looking at the 100K area for Bitcoin as a profit-taking area, because it makes sense from a lot of different perspectives. And if the NUPL is going to show us a euphoria reading at 100K, I'm definitely going to exit. And if the MVRVC score is in the red area while the NUPL is showing a, starts flashing blue, indicating of greed, it's a very high probability that we are seeing a top in the market. Now, if you combine those two on-chain analysis charts with the NUPL and the the MVRV C score together, I'm just going to say C score, together with the technical levels, that is 100K, where you find that 100K is right between the 50% and the 618, which is my final take profit on all my trades that I ever take. It kind of makes sense. It makes sense from my own profit taking strategy, and it also makes sense from an on-chain analysis standpoint. A lot of people are talking about a Birb, for example, like a target of 150 to 200. Sure, it's very, very possible. It's very, very possible. But I got my eyes set on the 100K target, right? And that is like a 50, I don't know, like a 50, 60% move from current prices. Let's say 60%. Now, what happens if we do hit 100K and then we see a real bear market with a 80% drop? Well, what would be an 80% drop? Now, obviously, an 80% drop from 100 would be 20K, right? If I've done the math correctly. So let's see, 80%, 80%, 80%. Yeah, all the way down here. That would be an 80% drop down to 20K. Right. So yeah, a prolonged bear market after a top in the NUPL and the C score would most likely, in my opinion, lead to a possible 80% drop to the downside, which does not seem highly unlikely. Now, if you look at the weekly and you assume that, if you draw some fibs on this and you assume that the top of Bitcoin would be 100K and the bottom, let's just do this, where we view this as a major accumulation range. So if we view this as the major accumulation range right here, something like that, and we add some fibs to these lows right here, and the top of this fib would be up at the 100K area. You know, I think it makes more sense to use the this low right here, because that is the beginning of the move. And then you have a 80% drawdown from 100K, 80%. It's down here at 20K. Now, considering the fact that the reload zone, let's show that more clearly. One could definitely argue that combined with TA, a 60 to 70% move to the downside to hit the long RLC here would make perfect sense as well. Now, what could happen is, you get a wick down to test this area, and then you start to, like, a wick down on the weekly, but there's no weekly candle closing below here, like for this level right here, where you had weekly wicks below but no candle close below. Could happen here, and then that is where you start the bottom. So that would be a 70% move to the downside. Now, Now let's assume that we're going to see a move up to 200K for Bitcoin. Well, if we get it moved to 200K for Bitcoin, I think it's highly likely that we don't go lower than 40 to 30K, right, which is down here, because I don't think that prolonged bear market is like, no way it's going to be a 90% drop. I don't think it's going to be a 90% drop. I'm more thinking in lines of 70 to 80, which kind of lines up nicely here. Now if you draw the fib all the way up to 200, obviously the fib now makes no sense really for 80% drop, but it makes perfect sense to look at this level, which on the weekly is actually a very good support area. So in that case, a 70% drop. So no matter how you look at this, a drop down from the high to the reload zone will most of the time be a drop of around 70%. So I think that makes perfect sense. So I know Birb has posted a tweet that says like top 150 to 200K and then a drop down to 20K or 10K. I don't think we're gonna go that low if we go to 200. But if the top is 100, I would say that a bottom at around 20K seems likely. But if we go up to 200K, I'd say that a bottom at around 50K makes more sense. From my perspective, now we are two different people, two different traders, two different approaches. It dropped down to 20 or 10K. That would be insane. That would be 90, like 80 to 95% drop. That would be pretty insane. If that happens, we're talking about a crypto winter that will probably go on for 3, 4, 5 years, right? So that's just some long-term analysis on the potential bottom for Bitcoin. This is probably being a couple of steps ahead here. So how could we try to predict the top? Again, we look at the C score. If it's in the red area, that's a warning sign of a top coming. You combine that with the NUPL. If you're in the euphoria stage, the blue stage right here, those two combine is giving you some likely scenarios that Bitcoin is reaching a top. Now, I have this chart as well. It shows you a pretty good trend right here on Bitcoin, where it's in an uptrend and price keeps on hitting the green 50 daily EMA right here. And whenever it hits the daily 50 EMA, it also gives you a stochastics RSI reading on the daily below 30. So those bounces is a good indication that you want to be buying those dips. But as soon as you lose the daily 50 and lose this behavior, it would indicate that a potential top is coming. So this screenshot was taken in April 16 this year when we were trading at 60K. So let's go back to April 16 on the daily, and we're gonna add a daily 50 EMA. We've got April 16 right here. Okay, so that screenshot was taken right here at the very top, right? And my reasoning here was, if Bitcoin loses the daily 50 EMA, we can expect that the trend is broken and we could be looking at a potential breakdown. And that is exactly what happened right here. We lost the daily 50 EMA right here, which led to a breakdown. And this could have been the bear market. But if you look at the NUPL and the C score at, let's say, May 2021, which is here, so the 1st of May, when we had that bearish rejection. So look at, we got 1st of May, which is 2021 where's May? Right here, right? So right, I don't get this. Why is this happening? So somewhere here, right? Somewhere in this area right here. So we had a big move to the upside, right? But nowhere near the top. Nowhere near the top on the C score. Actually, like in the middle. So we'll look at the NUPL. And that was right here. So even though that we came close, we never really touched the euphoria greed phase of the market. So this could have been the top, right? This could have been the top because same thing happened here. But the thing here is we actually had a 50% drop. So that goes back to the stuff that I talked about in the beginning. We can have 50% drops without that being a bear market for Bitcoin. Now, when we get a bear market, we start seeing 70, 60, like 80% drops. But a 50% drop is actually quite normally part of an overall all bull market. And that just shows this. So using the daily 50 EMA or any other daily moving average that makes sense can give you some hints of a major pullback about to happen in the overall bull trend. So when that happens, you shouldn't be exiting all markets, right? You shouldn't be exiting all markets, but you might want to exit your medium term holds and then buy back lower. Because if you look at Bitcoin right here, it had a pretty obvious distribution range here. And with that distribution range, you lost the daily 50 EMA. Then you have an accumulation range right here. And what happened during this accumulation range is you reclaimed the daily 50 EMA right here. So you could have exited here and got back in here, and that is exactly what I did. And I'm pretty sure you guys remember that. I was very vocal on this up run that if we lose the daily 50 EMA, I will exit all crypto markets. And that's what we did. I know a lot of people follow me on that, so that's what we did when we broke the daily 50 EMA right here, and we entered the markets again when we reclaimed the daily 50 EMA right here. So what we did was we saved ourselves from a 50% drop, but we stayed in the bull market, right? We never exited without a plan to enter again. The problem, however, is, well, not the problem, but the difference with this happening while the NUPL is in the euphoria stage and the C score above 8, when all of these three things happening together, I don't think we're going to see a 50% drop to the downside and continuation of the bull market. I think we might see a 70 or 80% drop to the downside. That might look like this, where we have distribution range, breakdown, a range that could be accumulation range, but will break to the downside. And that is when the major moves to the downside will happen. That's what we get, the 80 to 90% drops to the downside, right? So that is now I've given you some ideas on how to try to predict the top for Bitcoin, combining two different on-chain analysis, which is quite different from each other, with a very simple, short, technical analysis where you use a daily moving average. In this example, the 50 EMA, because I think it works pretty well. You can use the daily, the 50 simple as well, I believe. Whatever moving averages makes sense in that part of the trend. But for me, that's going to be the 50 EMA. Now, the most important question here is, I think it's on everyone's mind. What happens with altcoins? So what happens with altcoins when Bitcoin tops out? And I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. That's the truth, right? Nobody knows what will happen because I can't predict the future. Birb might be able to predict the future, but I can't, and nobody else can. I don't know what's up with him, but like the way he predicts the bottoms and the tops is just magical. So I don't really know what's going on with that, but I can't do that. So we have to do whatever we can as technical analysts. And what we do as technical analysts, we look at past price performance. That's all we can do. So we look at what happened at the last major tops for Bitcoin, and we really only have one, maybe two, but we really only have one scenario we can look at, and that is a top in 17, right? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go back to look at Bitcoin in 2017, which is right here. This is the Bitcoin top. Now, the problem here, and this is also a good example on why I'm saying you should look at the moving averages that make sense according to the current trend. If you base your exit on the daily 50 EMA, you might actually miss out on the obvious top right here. But looking at Bitcoin right here, it kind of this is definitely a top formation when you have high, higher high, lower low, lower low, a breakout that would be a fake out on the weekly, and then you start moving lower again. If this all happens while the NUPL hits the Fourier and greed stage, while C score it's about 8, it's time to exit. The problem here is that it kind of looks like it's holding the daily 50 EMA right here. So what I would do is I would probably stay in right here, but I would probably exit when you have maybe that close or that close, you know. But then if you add the daily 20 EMA, this might make more sense, right? This might make more sense. It might make more sense to use the daily 20 EMA because this move is so overextended right here. If you compare this move with the moves that we had here, it wasn't really, it held the daily 20 EMA. It felt like price were not really as overextended here, and it really played nicely off the daily 50 EMA. But if you go back to 17, you will kind of see how it never really hit the daily 50 EMA right here. It just stayed above the daily 50 EMA, and instead started playing with the daily 20 EMA, right? So it's a matter of looking at the moving averages and comparing, like looking at the behavior of the trend. What's the trend telling us right now, and how is the moving averages being used in this trend? And it's really hard to understand the behavior at times. It's really, really, really hard to try to determine where the top is. This is actually 19, so it's not even 17. Well, you look at this, it's like, yeah. Anyway, let's look at what happened in the. So look at C score 17, way in the red area. You look at NUPL started flashing blue here at the top, and now we want to look at altcoins, right? So first we want to look at what happened to the altcoin perp. Do we have an altcoin perp that goes back to 17? I'm not sure we have that. No, it's actually listing on FTX here. So do we have any altcoin indices that goes back 17? I think we have to look at individual coins instead. So we look at BNB. So the top on Bitcoin, I'd say the top on Bitcoin happened around mid-December. To do mid-December. BNB versus USDT had an insane move at around mid-December 17. Look at BNB BTC. What happened in December 17 for BNB versus BTC? It's not as well, some insane moves right here. So let's look at Ethereum versus USDT at that time. Obviously had some insane moves here versus USDT as well after the Bitcoin top. So the general idea here is that altcoins will continue to run after Bitcoin has topped out, right? So the general idea is that Bitcoin will top out, and that is when you will see that legendary altcoin season happening. And that is based on what happened back in 2017, right? It's all based on what happened back in 2017. So mid December, boom, we had that move right here. So we had like a 150% move on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. We can look at what else? XRP. We're going to look at the BTC dominance as well. I'm pretty sure we had XRP back then, right? Poloniex, perhaps. Yeah, so we have mid-December 17 for XRP versus USD. We had a pretty insane rally at 300% run. So there's obviously a pattern here with all coins starting to rally after Bitcoin topping out. Now, the problem here is everyone is expecting history to repeat itself. And it's true that it often happens, and that is what we base TA on. If one pattern has happened a lot of times in the past with a good accuracy, it's a fairly high probability that it will keep on happening. But you know the saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And that is something very important that we have to remember this time around. It will not happen exactly the same as before. It might not happen the same. If XRP pumped 300%, it might pump 50 or 100% in the next altcoin run. I don't think the runs will be as massive. I think it's not going to last for as long. It might last, a couple of weeks, a month, or 3 or 4 months. We don't know that. I'm personally thinking more along the lines of 1 month, max 2 months of altcoin action. And after that, we're going to see some insane tops, just like we saw here. So what you have to do is take profits, right? You need to take profit. You need to remember to exit Bitcoin when you feel like it's a high probability the top is in. And if you are still in altcoins, you need to take profit. If you have an altcoin that is pumping 100% in a couple of days, it will happen, right? It will happen most likely. So if an altcoin you own is pumping 100% in a week, you sell half of that and you move your stops up, and you let that run. And when there's like a sell up blow off top with maybe a 30% move to the downside, and you see altcoins are you sell that bag, right? You sell that bag. If it's like 1 month or 2 months gone by and you're up like 250% on an altcoin, you exit that altcoin and you take the profits on that, because the top is in for Bitcoin. You know the top of the crypto market is probably coming, and you're going to see a prolonged multi-year bear market where Bitcoin will drop 80 to 90%. Now, will you really want, like, you don't want to be stuck in altcoins like you were in 2017. So take profits. It's better to get a 200% increase on your portfolio and miss out on 400% than to hope for 400% and get left with 25% increase instead of doubling your portfolio, right? So take profits, be happy with the profits that you've taken on the way up. The greedy people that wait for the massive gains are going to get left with nothing, right? With absolutely nothing, like most of you watching this probably did back in 17. I know a lot of my private students that I have is still sitting on a lot of bags from 2017 because they didn't have the information that I'm giving you right now. And I did exactly the same stuff because I didn't even know the NUPL, the C score existed, and I had no idea about what technical analysts. I had no idea what TA was back in 17. I just bought everything that I could find, and when the market topped and dumped 70%, I started talking about how Bitcoin is the future of finance and how I'm gonna become a millionaire anyway. But that never, it never really happened because I sold most of my bags at a pretty insane loss after like 2 years of bear market. You know, so I don't want you guys to do the same mistake, right? Right. Um, let's see. Uh, 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 uh. So how does NUPL and C score for BTC indicate for all to top? That it doesn't, right? That's my point. It doesn't. At least I haven't really figured out how it does, so I can really answer that. I don't know how to. It's really hard to translate that over into altcoin market, but we have to look at the historic price action, right? So we look at the historic price action of Bitcoin and altcoin market after Bitcoin topping in 2017, and we can assume that when Bitcoin tops, we have some time before uh, before altcoin tops, right? So let's say all right. So guys, it only lasted a month for XRP. It only lasted a month for XRP. So if you're thinking that you're going to get a 6 months of crazy legendary altcoin season, no, that's not going to happen, right? That's not going to happen. What happened with the Ethereum in 17? So we can assume that Bitcoin topped out around this area right here. Ethereum topped out 35 days. 35 days. Let's say max 50 days before you sell. 3 months. If you held it for 3 months, you would be completely wrecked. Well, not completely wrecked. If you hold it for 120 day, you would be back at entry. What I'm saying is Bitcoin will top, you will sell Bitcoin, and you will hold some select altcoins that are looking good, and you will sell them when they pump, because the altcoin market will probably not rally more than 1 to 2 months. All right, guys, do you guys have any questions regarding regarding all of this? I think also you can look at the altcoin. We look at the BTC dominance as well. So let's go to 17 here. Why can't I use that one? Why can I not use that one? Weird. Do we have information on that? 17, December 17. Yeah, right. So right here. February, December. Yeah, I mean, holy shit, look at that. You see this right here. This right here, that was the altcoin rally. Top to peak, 46 days, right? 46 days. And yeah, let's look at the altcoin market cap as well. So we talked about how mid-December, something like that. Obviously, you had here prior to So we look at the beginning of October 17. We look at Bitcoin beginning of October 17. Yeah, so actually what happened here, if you compare this chart, so you had from first October to the top, which was 17th of December. 17th of December. So we got the first October, which is right here. And the 17th of December is here. That's the top, right? So this right here is the major parabolic bull run for Bitcoin to 20K. This is where Bitcoin topped out, all right? But altcoins continued to run. So this right here is the altcoin season after Bitcoin topping. Wouldn't it be wise to try to exit altcoins as well when Bitcoin tops? Well, this is why you might not want to do that, because the altcoin market rallied 400%, but then it rallied 50% extra, right? You might want to squeeze that extra 50% out. Now, of course, if Bitcoin tops out and you're trading at 100K per Bitcoin, and you're like, well, I'm good with this profit. I've made a lot of money on Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, and altcoins. Maybe altcoins rallied with Bitcoin up to 150K, and you might say, I'm okay with this profit. I'm gonna exit the market here. I'm okay with this. Yes, then that's a good idea. That is a good idea. But if altcoins have been lagging, right? If Bitcoin has run up to 150K, you made good profits on altcoins, but you look at Bitcoin, and you look at altcoins, and you might say altcoins are lagging, and I want to make some more money on these altcoins. It looks like they have some more room to go. It's better to exit Bitcoin and stay in altcoins and exit altcoins after a month or two, is what I'm thinking, and that's kind of my plan. Now this plan might be revised going forward depending on how the market develops. But right now I'm using what happened in 17. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thoughts there. You mentioned that back in 17 you weren't aware of TA on-chain analysis. None was, and now a lot of people. Well, of course, a lot of people were aware of technical analysis. I mean, technical analysis has been around since I don't know, like the 70s, 80s. So of course, there were very skilled traders trading the crypto market using TA, right? Of course. On-chain analysis, sure, that was different, but I'm talking about TA. So TA and on-chain analysis is not really the same thing. On-chain analysis is more like a mix of TA and fundamental analysis. Considering that, and considering it's a zero-sum game and all, most folks will time their exit better now. Wouldn't it mean that this time everything might happen? Yes, exactly. That is something. This is very important, right? Yes, it will happen very, very differently, because you got to remember that in 2017 we talked about the rumors of institutional players may be entering Bitcoin. So let me repeat that. In 2017, we only talked about and dreamt about big players and institutions actually just talking about Bitcoin. Now we have Twitter integrating Bitcoin in its platform. We had MasterCard working on implementing Bitcoin payments options. Banks are actually using blockchain technology and Bitcoin. Like it's about to go mainstream, and it's almost mainstream already. If I knew this back in 17, we knew that this would happen but it's just amazing to see. So the market that we are in right now and trading right now is a completely different market from what we had back in 17. And that is why it's very important to remember that while history often repeats itself, it doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. God damn it, I can't remember that quote, but you know what I'm saying. All right, so what happened in 17 will most likely repeat itself, but not in the same way. And we don't know how. We do not know how. But what I've shown you today is what I think is what we have to have in mind. Like Birb said, when the Apples and Microsoft accept Bitcoin along with Signal from, yes, exactly. Well, maybe, yeah, and that's happening. It's happening. All right, it's happening. It will happen. You know, Amazon will accept it. Apple will probably not, but Microsoft might. Uh, but definitely, it's happening. It's happening, and it's happening in a at a rapidly increasing rate. There will be an extreme FOMO at the top. Everyone will be talking about Bitcoin. Your mother will be calling you and screaming at you, asking you why you haven't bought Bitcoin for her. Your friends will be either hating you or loving you for not giving their financial advice on Bitcoin. And they will hate you because you probably told them to buy the top. All right, it will happen. Everyone will be talking about crypto and Bitcoin. You will see it everywhere, right? That is going to be the top. Everyone will be euphoric, and that's the reason why that blue zone is called greed and euphoria, because everyone will be thinking, "This is it. This is it. Bitcoin is now becoming a global currency." And people might be talking about bigger countries other than El Salvador accepting Bitcoin as a local national currency. I think that is when we will reach the top, when everything just seems too good to be true. It usually is. All right, guys, that's this webinar. Longer than usual but I think this was an important one. A lot of people had questions about what to do. Having an exit strategy is very important. Now, please use the information that I've provided you guys with today. Combine all of the information that I've given you today with what Birb Adrian is giving you in his webinar on the alt season and the tops for Bitcoin and all that stuff. All right, guys, was fun doing this webinar with you guys. Now let's make an exit plan. I would like for you to open up a text document on your laptop or whatever, take a pen and paper and start writing an exit plan. Very, very important, because you do not want to get stuck at the top for Bitcoin, because it will happen quickly, very quickly. All right, guys, take care and see you guys in the next one.